Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to this latest episode. So sit back, relax, grab your cigar, maybe a drink, and enjoy.
I can hear it. I can hear it burn. I can hear it burn. Burn, baby, burn. No disco, just Inferno. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Friday video. I'm glad you guys decided to join me because I'm going to be talking about something that I was thinking about the other day, and I was thinking about it early on in my cigar journey when I first started smoking cigars, and it wasn't something I actually thought about until, well, really until I started doing cigar review videos. And if you're thinking about doing cigar review videos, well, this is kind of stuff you have to pay attention to, and maybe you've never noticed it before, or you're wondering if you'd be able to notice it. Well, now's going to be the time where you can kind of examine that, maybe find out. So today we're going to be talking about basically what flavor notes. What are flavor notes? How do you detect flavor notes? Good questions. So let's talk about that. Cue that music. What's up, guys? You are watching Dad Smoking Cigars, sponsored by StogieLives.com and Casa Cuevas Cigars, from our Casa to yours. Thank you for joining me for another Friday video. And speaking of Casa Cuevas, today I am smoking the Casa Cuevas Maduro. Excellent smoke, and one of the first three that Casa Cuevas put out a few years back. And obviously it's one of my go-to cigars. So thank you to sponsor of Dad Smoking Cigars, Casa Cuevas Cigars, for sending me these wonderful smokes. I enjoy them every single time. So if you haven't tried them, definitely give them a try. But part of trying cigars is something that not everyone gets, not everyone experiences, not everyone notices, and that is flavor notes. What are flavor notes? Well, they're flavor notes that you pick up while smoking cigars. And I apologize if I sound condescending. I'm not trying to. It is the simplest explanation that I can give as to what flavor notes are. Now, there are some people who have been smoking cigars for years, literally decades, and have probably never ever detected a single flavor note. And you know what? That's okay. Not everybody does, and even so, they still enjoy their cigars. They enjoy their smokes. They might get a hint of something every now and then that might seem familiar in terms of flavor, but overall, not everyone tries to detect those flavor notes when they're smoking cigars just because they don't care, and that's okay. You don't have to care. But if you're wanting to go more in-depth with your cigar experience, you might want to pay attention and see what you notice when you are trying a cigar. As for me, I didn't really notice flavor notes until, honestly, I started reviewing cigars. And if you want to review cigars, if you're thinking about reviewing cigars, whether it's on your Instagram, your Facebook, you want to start a YouTube channel, maybe you want to, write your own cigar blog or something like that, I highly encourage you to do any one of those things, or all of those things if you so choose. But if you're going to start reviewing cigars, obviously you need to make sure that, well, your setup doesn't become boring, because if you start noticing flavor notes, you may notice a lot of the same flavor notes in certain cigars, and obviously you don't want to give the exact same review of almost every cigar that you smoke, whether you're doing it on YouTube like I do, or you're writing about it. And obviously writing probably is going to go far more in depth to the various nuances of the cigar, so you're going to want to pay attention. Now, if you don't know anything about the Casa Cuevas Maduro, you might be surprised to find out that the wrapper is not actually a broadleaf Maduro wrapper, but instead a dark Mexican San Andres wrapper, and it is draped over some Nicaraguan binder, which has Colombian, Nicaraguan, and Dominican fillers. So this is quite the blend of different tobaccos, and but at the same time, it is a Maduro cigar, and Maduros tend to have a little bit of a chocolatey flavor to them, kind of like a dark coffee or espresso, and so some of those flavors can be present in cigars like this. Those are kind of what you would expect to experience in a cigar like that, kind of the more typical flavors. But after taking a few puffs just a second ago, I'm also tasting a little bit of leather, something I haven't tasted in a Casa Cuevas Maduro in a while, at least not in the initial puffs. And I'm actually, which I'm not sure how I feel about this because I hate the flavor, I'm getting a little bit of that black licorice flavor and a slight bit of pepper. Maybe not so much like black pepper, maybe a little bit of white pepper, some kind of spice that has a little bit of heat to it. So I'm getting a little bit of that. You might experience that in Maduro cigar, but then again, you're not going to experience that in every single Maduro cigar. Some Connecticut's typically have kind of a more smooth, sweet, creamy flavor, maybe a hint of like baking spice, like a nutmeg or a cinnamon or something like that. Those are not all that difficult to detect in cigars like those. They're kind of standard fare when it comes to Connecticut's. But I have actually tried some Connecticut's that threw me for a loop, where I tried them and they had a bit more of a richness to them, not so much more sweetness or anything like that, but I'm experiencing more nuances and different little things that I haven't experienced in other Connecticut cigars, because unfortunately, in my experience, Connecticut's can sometimes be hit or miss, like Cubans, and we'll get into that in a second. But Connecticut's typically have kind of more of a milder, more creamy, slightly sweet flavor. Sometimes they might actually be overly sweet depending on how they're blended, and maybe they're a little bit infused with something. I don't know, but they kind of typically have more of those notes to them. Now, kind of in the middle ground, the medium to medium plus is like a Habano, or maybe even a Corojo. Where they kind of stand in the middle of having a little bit more of a spice to them. They're bolder than a Connecticut, maybe not quite as strong as some Maduros, but then again, I've tried some Habanos that were quite a bit stronger than some Maduros I've smoked. And again, it's not how dark the wrapper is, it's not that determines how strong it is or how bold it is, though some of the darker wrappers have tended to be, at least for me, a little bit bolder. But the Casa Cuevas Maduro is not what you'd call a full-bodied cigar. However, one full-bodied cigar that Casa Cuevas makes, the only full-bodied cigar that Casa Cuevas makes, is the La Mandaria, and it has a Habano wrapper, but it is blended with different types of tobaccos that provide a different type of strength to it. And that's kind of the beauty of cigar blending, is that you may get something completely different with each experience, or you may have a certain type of cigar like a Connecticut, but they're not the same across the board. You might get something different every single time. It just depends on the cigar. But when you stop for a second and you let the smoke kind of just settle in your mouth when you take those first puffs, and you kind of just pause to kind of give yourself a moment to pick up on things. You may not pick up on anything. Then again, you may pick up on something you never picked up on before. As far as the flavor notes you're going to pick up, they're going to be different with each cigar. Habanos tend to be a little bit on the spicier side, but they're kind of medium plus. They won't kick your butt in terms of strength, but their flavors kind of have a little bit more of a kick. Whereas Maduro cigars, they kind of have more of a boldness, darker, richer flavors, a little bit more coffee, a little bit more cocoa. But it all just depends on the cigar. And you have to stop and think about what you're tasting, what you're experiencing, and the various other things you might experience in a single cigar. But again, you kind of just have to pause and take time to discover that. Flavor notes don't come to everyone. Then again, there are some people who I know who have an extremely sophisticated palate, and they pick up on stuff I never would have thought to pick up on a certain cigar. The same cigar that I've smoked, same as them that they're smoking and reviewing. And they pick up on, I tasted a little oregano and I tasted a little this. I'm like, really? You tasted that? Okay. It just depends on your palate, and it also depends on how long you've been smoking cigars, what kind of cigars you like. And you heard me mention Cuban cigars before. Cuban cigars tend to be a little bit one note, very earthy, very, they only come from one place. They are made with Cuban seed and mainly Cuban tobacco because they are from Cuba, and they have kind of that taboo sort of thing going on because for the longest time you couldn't get Cuban cigars, not very easily. Still can't get them super easy, but they're a little bit easier to get than they used to be X amount of years ago. They tend to be a little bit like, kind of very, the good ones. And I've smoked a number of Cubans, and they're not always good. Kind of like Connecticut's can be hit and miss. But they tend to be a little bit more earthy. And I think that's why some people who've been smoking cigars a long time, maybe a number of decades, they kind of prefer Cuban cigars because there's not too many surprises. Not everyone likes complex flavors in a cigar. So if that's not what you want, then go ahead and buy some Cubans if you're able. But if you want something that's a little bit different, you want something that has some varied flavors and is a different kind of blend, you can find so many different blends that give different flavors and impact you in a different way. One of the most incredible cigars I've ever smoked is a cigar called the El Threesome by Blue Mountain Cigars. I reviewed the cigar on the channel. If you want to check it out, go ahead and click up in the corner and check that out for yourself, because that was a heck of a ride. It was essentially 3 cigars in one, 3 different wrappers, kind of in a 3-tier. So it was very easy to go in thirds on that cigar, and all different binder and filler on the inside of the cigar with each segment. It was nuts, and it took me for a pretty wild ride. But I tasted a number of different flavor notes in that cigar, and it was nuts. But if you want to find out what kind of flavor notes you're discovering, probably a good idea to write them down. I've done this myself. I haven't done it for a while. I probably should start doing it again. It's kind of keeping a cigar journal, as it were, something I used to do. But you want to write things down and see if maybe you notice something different. You may notice nothing, but it all just depends on how much time you're taking with the cigar. If you just want to smoke something and you're not thinking about it, you're not going to pick up on much. But if you kind of pause and take stock of what you're smoking and you want to discover more about the cigar that you're enjoying, then you're probably going to notice some differences. And you also might notice how different those flavor notes are depending on what you might be drinking with your cigar. Like tonight in my Dad Smoking Cigars tumbler, I am drinking a Moscow Mule. Not a typical drink when it comes to smoking cigars, but it kind of sounded good. I wanted to have that tonight, and interestingly enough, I'm going to go ahead and test this right now. Okay. It actually doesn't pair too bad. Probably because of the ginger beer within the Moscow Mule, combined with the vodka and all that kind of stuff. Maybe a little bit of the lime juice. There isn't too much lime juice in this particular mule, but it pairs actually pretty nice with this, surprisingly enough. You just never know. You can pair your cigars with any kind of drink, not just whiskey or any other type of spirit. You can pair it with coffee. One of my favorite things to do is pair a cigar with coffee. Coffee always goes great with cigars, whether it is a very bold coffee or even kind of a more mild coffee. It doesn't really matter because it always pairs nicely. And you could even pair it with like a soda or some type of drink, fruity drink or whatever. It just depends on what you like, and you never know what you're going to find and discover within those flavor notes. So it's all about experimentation. It's all about trying different cigars, pairing them with different drinks, even pairing them with different food. But you're always going to pick up on something. The more you pay attention, the more you kind of stop and take stock and pause and really experience what you're smoking. And I really encourage you to try and see what you might notice while you're smoking a cigar. Maybe it's something you never really stop to consider, but it's kind of fun and it adds to the experience. So I definitely suggest giving it a try. So anyways, guys, I know that was kind of a rambling video, but it was something I wanted to talk about just a little bit because, yeah, everybody talks about flavor notes and talks about what they're tasting, and it tends to be a lot of very similar observations, but at the same time, you never know what you're going to pick up, especially when you're trying something new, a cigar you've never smoked, or you haven't smoked in a long time. You may taste something completely different than what you remember that one cigar you maybe smoked X amount of weeks, months ago, or even years ago. So I definitely suggest that you guys give that a try if you haven't already. If it's something you haven't tried to observe or experience while you're smoking your cigar, then definitely give it a try. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is purposefully one of my more shorter videos because I didn't want to go into a crazy lengthy explanation about flavor notes because it's actually one of the more simple elements of enjoying a cigar. So anyways, guys, hope you liked it. If you did, please let me know in the comments. Give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I really hope to see you guys again soon. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and also follow Dad Smoking Cigars on dads_smoking_cigars on Instagram, and be sure to check us out on Facebook. Until then, guys, stay smoky, and I'll see you in the next one.